Picture this: a sprawling suburban home in the quiet town of Maplewood, Ohio, where the scent of freshly mowed lawns and blooming lilacs fills the air. For 45 years, Evelyn Harper, a 62-year-old widow with silver hair and a heart full of devotion, had poured her soul into making that house a home. She'd hosted 4th of July barbecues, nursed her husband through late-night fevers, and raised a daughter who once seemed destined for greatness. But in the blink of an eye, everything Evelyn thought she knew about her family crumbled into dust. This is the story of how a grieving mother, cast aside by her own flesh and blood, rose from the ashes to reclaim her life with a vengeance. Buckle up, because this tale has more twists than a Midwest tornado. Evelyn Harper was no stranger to sacrifice. For nearly half a century, she'd been the backbone of her family, the woman who kept the wheels turning while her husband, Thomas, built his real estate empire. Their home at 1427 Willow Lane was a testament to her love, every curtain sewn by hand, every family photo carefully framed. But when Thomas died suddenly of a stroke at 68, Evelyn's world didn't just crack, it shattered. Barely 6 weeks after his funeral, her daughter, Sophia, the apple of Thomas's eye, swooped in with a plan that would change everything. Sophia, 38, was the picture of ambition, polished, poised, and married to Ethan, a slick Wall Street trader with a smile that could sell ice to a penguin. She'd always been her father's favorite, the golden child who could do no wrong. Evelyn had watched Thomas dote on Sophia, funding her Ivy League education, cheering at her wedding, and spoiling her 2 kids with lavish gifts. Evelyn, meanwhile, was the quiet force behind the scenes, cooking holiday dinners, balancing the household budget, and keeping Thomas's life in order. She never complained, it was just who she was. But that Tuesday morning in late September, as the leaves began to turn gold, Sophia showed up unannounced at Willow Lane. She stood in the foyer, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood, with Ethan trailing behind, carrying 2 oversized suitcases. "Mom," Sophia said, her voice smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. "We've made a decision. Ethan's got a new position in Columbus, and we need to move into town. This house is perfect for us and the kids." Evelyn froze, her coffee mug trembling in her hand. "Move in? Sophia, this is my home." Her daughter's eyes flickered with something cold, a glimpse of the calculation Evelyn had never noticed before. "Actually, Mom," Sophia said, "according to Dad's will, I inherited everything. The house, the investments, the whole estate, $28 million. I've been letting you stay here out of kindness. But it's time for you to find your own place." The words hit Evelyn like a freight train. "Sophia, there must be a mistake," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. But Sophia's face hardened. "No mistake. Dad knew I'd manage his legacy better than you ever could. You've never understood money, Mom. You were just the wife." And then, as if to twist the knife deeper, Sophia delivered the final blow. "Find somewhere else to fade away. Mom, you're no use to us now." Evelyn's world spun. 45 years of marriage, of love, of sacrifice, reduced to ashes by the daughter she'd raised. Within 3 days, she packed her life into 2 suitcases and a small box of keepsakes, photos of Thomas, Sophia's old school awards, a locket from their 20th anniversary. Sophia stood in the doorway, checking her phone, as if Evelyn's departure was a minor inconvenience. Ethan, ever the dutiful son-in-law, loaded her bags into their gleaming Tesla with a forced smile. "Evelyn, you'll love having your freedom back," he said, avoiding her gaze. "No more worrying about the mortgage or upkeep." What he meant was clear: no more home, no more place in their lives. They drove her to the Starlight Motel, a rundown dive on the edge of town where the neon sign flickered and the carpet smelled of despair. At $55 a night, it was the kind of place where dreams went to die. Sophia handed Evelyn $250 in crumpled bills, like she was tipping a waitress. "This should tide you over for a bit," she said, her tone as casual as if she were recommending a coffee shop. "We'll transfer some money to your account once we sort out Dad's paperwork." And with that, they were gone, leaving Evelyn alone in a room with peeling wallpaper and a mattress that sagged like her heart. As she sat on that lumpy bed, staring at the faded floral curtains. Evelyn felt the weight of betrayal settle into her bones. She'd gone from grieving widow to homeless outcast in a matter of hours. Discarded by the daughter she'd loved unconditionally. But something else stirred in her, a spark of defiance. A nagging memory that refused to stay buried. Thomas had always been meticulous. Almost obsessive. About his affairs. Years ago, he'd sat her down at their oak dining table. His hand warm on hers. And walked her through his will. Evelyn, he'd said, you'll always be taken care of. I've made sure of it. Those words echoed in her mind now, clashing with Sophia's cruel claims. Something wasn't right. The next morning, fueled by determination in the motel's weak Wi-Fi, Evelyn searched for Thomas's lawyer. William Carter. She'd known William for decades. He'd handled their home purchase, Thomas's business contracts, even their estate planning. His office was a 25-minute bus ride away, eating into her dwindling cash. But Evelyn didn't hesitate. She needed answers. William Carter, a silver-haired attorney in his late 60s, greeted her with a warmth that nearly broke her. Evelyn, I've been trying to reach you, he said, his brow furrowing. Sophia told me you were traveling. Taking some time to grieve. Traveling? The lie stung. But it was only the beginning. William, I need to know about Thomas's will, Evelyn said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. William's expression shifted from concern to alarm. He pulled a thick file from his desk, flipping to a document with Thomas's familiar, precise signature. Evelyn, you were supposed to be at the reading, he said. Sophia told me you were too distraught. That she'd handle everything and make sure you got your copy of the will. Evelyn's heart sank. There had been a reading. And she'd been deliberately excluded. As William read the will aloud, the truth unfolded like a punch to the gut. Thomas had left Evelyn the house at 1427 Willow Lane, complete with all furnishings and personal effects, and 70% of his financial assets, roughly $20 million. Sophia was to receive $8 million. Held in a trust with a critical condition, she had to treat her mother with respect and dignity after Thomas's death. If she failed, her entire inheritance would revert to Evelyn. Evelyn's knees buckled. Sophia told me she got everything. She whispered. She showed me papers, said I had nothing, and threw me out. William's face darkened, his voice tight with anger. Evelyn, what Sophia's done is elder abuse and fraud. Those papers were forged, either fabricated entirely or pulled from an old draft. Thomas updated his will 8 months before his death because he was worried about Sophia's greed. Her sense of entitlement. The room seemed to tilt. Thomas had seen it coming. He'd known Sophia's charm masked a ruthless streak. And he'd built a safeguard to protect Evelyn. But Sophia, in her arrogance, had triggered the very clause designed to stop her. There's more, William said, his tone grave. If Sophia's mistreatment is proven, her $8 million becomes yours. You're not looking at $20 million. Evelyn, you're looking at $28 million. The house, and everything Thomas owned. Evelyn sat in stunned silence, her mind racing. Sophia hadn't just lied, she'd committed felonies to steal what was rightfully Evelyn's. The daughter who'd once curled up in her lap, begging for bedtime stories, had calculatedly betrayed her. But Evelyn wasn't the same woman who'd packed her bags in defeat 3 days ago. Something fierce was waking inside her, a resolve she hadn't felt in years. William leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Evelyn, we can fight this. What Sophia's done is illegal. And we have the evidence to prove it. I've already contacted the police. And I've got a forensic accountant ready to trace those forged documents. He paused, a small smile breaking through. She's about to learn she picked the wrong woman to mess with. By noon, the wheels of justice were turning. Sophia's bank accounts, which she thought were flush with her ill-gotten inheritance, were frozen. The police traced the forged will to a printing company Ethan's firm used for shady financial deals, revealing his own history of white-collar crime. Evelyn watched as William's office became a war room, with detectives and investigators mapping out Sophia and Ethan's scheme. It wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment grab, it was a calculated plan. Likely months in the making. That afternoon, Evelyn's phone lit up with Sophia's name. She answered, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Mom, where are you?" Sophia's tone was frantic. "There's a mix-up with the bank accounts. They're saying Dad's assets are frozen." Evelyn let the silence stretch, savoring the moment. "Hello, Sophia. I'm at William Carter's office. You know, Dad's lawyer. The one who read the real will while you told him I was traveling." Sophia's voice faltered. "Mom, I don't know what you think you found. But," Evelyn cut her off. "I found out you're a liar and a thief. Sweetheart. And I found out your father was smarter than you gave him credit for." The line went quiet, and Evelyn could almost hear Sophia's mind scrambling for an excuse. "Mom, I was protecting you," Sophia finally said. "You've never handled investments. It's too complicated for you." Evelyn laughed, a sound both bitter and triumphant. "Complicated? What's complicated is forging legal documents and kicking your 62-year-old mother out of her own house because you thought I was too weak to fight back. Here's the thing, Sophia. Not only did you not inherit a dime, but that $8 million you were supposed to get? It's mine now, thanks to a clause your father wrote about treating me with dignity." "Guess you missed that part." Sophia's voice turned shrill. "That's impossible. You're confused. Mom, someone's taking advantage of you." Evelyn's grip tightened on the phone. "The only person who's been taken advantage of is me, by you. But don't worry, Detective Larson is here if you'd like to discuss your felonies with her." The call ended with a click, and Evelyn turned to William, who was grinning like a man who'd just won a high-stakes poker game. "How long before she's arrested?" Evelyn asked. William's smile widened. "They're picking her up tonight. Ethan, too. His financial records are a goldmine, turns out. He's been under investigation for securities fraud for months." Evelyn nodded, a strange calm settling over her. She'd spent decades being the dutiful wife, the invisible mother, the woman who smoothed every edge for her family. But Sophia had underestimated her. And now Evelyn was ready to play the game her daughter thought she'd already won. As she left William's office, the autumn sun casting long shadows across Maplewood's quiet streets, Evelyn felt a shift inside her. The grieving widow was gone. In her place was a woman ready to reclaim her home, her fortune, and her future. Sophia had wanted to be the queen of this chessboard. But Evelyn was about to show her that even a pawn, when played right, can checkmate a king. Imagine this. A quiet evening in Maplewood, Ohio, where the golden glow of streetlights bathes the sleepy suburb in a deceptive calm. Inside the elegant home at 1427 Willow Lane, Evelyn Harper, a 62-year-old widow, sits in her living room, a tiny recording device taped beneath her blouse. Her heart races, not with fear, but with a steely resolve that's been forged in betrayal and tempered by truth. Just days ago, she was a grieving mother cast out by her own daughter, Sophia, and left penniless in a rundown motel. Now, she's about to outmaneuver the very people who thought they could break her. This is the story of how Evelyn uncovered the shocking secrets of her late husband's empire, turned the tables on her scheming daughter and son-in-law, and emerged as a force no one saw coming. Buckle up, this ride is about to get wild. Evelyn's world had already been turned upside down when she learned her daughter, Sophia, had forged her father's will, claiming a $28 million estate that rightfully belonged to Evelyn. With the help of attorney William Carter, she'd uncovered the real will. Thomas, her late husband, had left her the family home and 70% of his assets, $20 million, while Sophia's $8 million inheritance was contingent on treating Evelyn with respect. By throwing her mother out with nothing but $250 and a cruel dismissal, Sophia had triggered a clause that transferred her share to Evelyn. But as Evelyn prepared to reclaim her life, a darker truth emerged, one that would shake her to her core and reveal the depths of her family's deception. It started with a cryptic warning from Sophia's mother-in-law, Lillian Brooks, a woman dripping with old money arrogance. Lillian had swept into Evelyn's home, her diamond earrings glinting like tiny chandeliers, offering a $5 million settlement to drop the fraud charges against Sophia and her husband, Ethan. When Evelyn refused, Lillian smirked, hinting at interesting information about Thomas's business dealings that could complicate things. The threat hung in the air like smoke, And Evelyn knew she couldn't ignore it. If Sophia and Ethan had dirt on Thomas, it could jeopardize everything she'd fought for. Determined to uncover the truth before her enemies could use it against her, Evelyn called in Rachel Kim, a private investigator recommended by William. Rachel, a sharp-eyed woman with a knack for unraveling financial crimes, spent hours in Thomas's study, poring over his meticulously organized files. What she found was staggering. "Mrs. Harper," Rachel said, her voice low, "your husband wasn't just a real estate mogul. For over a decade, he was running a money laundering operation through his firm, washing millions for the Mancini crime family." Evelyn's breath caught. Thomas, the man who'd kissed her goodnight for 45 years, who'd coached Little League and donated to local charities. A criminal? It was unthinkable. But the evidence was undeniable. Invoices for non-existent services. Shell companies with no physical addresses. Payments that aligned with known Mancini operations. "How long?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely a whisper. "At least 12 years, Rachel replied. "Maybe longer." As Evelyn grappled with this betrayal, Rachel dropped another bombshell. "There's more. The $8 million Thomas left for Sophia. It came directly from laundered funds. If the FBI gets wind of this, they could seize everything as criminal proceeds." Evelyn's heart sank. Her home, her inheritance, her entire future could vanish. And worse, Rachel suspected Sophia and Ethan already knew about Thomas's crimes and planned to use the information to blackmail Evelyn into accepting their settlement. But then came the twist that changed everything. Rachel handed Evelyn a sealed FBI file, obtained through her contacts. "Mrs. Harper, your husband wasn't just a criminal. He was a confidential informant for the FBI. For 12 years, Thomas had been working undercover, feeding the feds information on the Mancini family while maintaining his cover as their money launderer. The $28 million estate he'd left Evelyn was legitimate, earned through his cooperation with the government." Sophia and Ethan, unaware of Thomas's double life, thought they were holding a trump card when they threatened to expose his crimes. Instead, they were walking into a trap of their own making. Armed with this revelation, Evelyn made a bold move. She contacted FBI agent Laura Bennett, a no-nonsense investigator with a reputation for dismantling criminal networks. Sitting in William's conference room, Evelyn laid out everything: Sophia's forged will, Ethan's history of financial crimes, and their attempt to blackmail her with Thomas's past. "Mrs. Harper," Laura said, her eyes sharp, "you're telling me your daughter and son-in-law think they can trade half-baked intel on your husband for immunity?" Evelyn nodded. "They don't know he was working for you." Laura's smile was predatory. "Then let's use that. Would you be willing to wear a wire?" Evelyn didn't hesitate. "Agent Bennett, 2 weeks ago, I was sleeping in a motel, thinking my life was over. Now I'm here, ready to take down the people who betrayed me. Fear isn't my problem anymore, anger is." Laura's grin widened. "Mrs. Harper, I think we're going to get along just fine." That evening, Evelyn sat in her living room, the recording device hidden beneath her cardigan. The house, once a symbol of her subservience, now felt like a battlefield. At exactly 8 p.m., Sophia and Ethan knocked on the door. Dressed like they were attending a corporate gala, Sophia kissed Evelyn's cheek, her perfume cloying. "Mom, you look so much better," she said, her voice dripping with false warmth. Ethan, carrying a sleek briefcase, chimed in. "Evelyn, we've structured a deal that's good for everyone. You keep the house, $5 million in clean assets, and immunity from any fallout from Thomas's activities." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "Clean assets? That's an interesting choice of words." Sophia shot Ethan a warning glance. But Evelyn pressed on. "Tell me, Ethan, when did you figure out Thomas was laundering money? Before or after you decided to steal my inheritance?" Ethan's smile faltered. "Evelyn, that's not relevant to..." "Oh, it's relevant," Evelyn interrupted, her voice cold. "If you knew about his crimes when you married Sophia, you're an accessory. If you found out while forging the will, you're just unlucky." Sophia's composure cracked. "Mom, what are you getting at?" Evelyn leaned forward, her eyes locked on her daughter's. "I'm getting at the fact that you two planned this for months. The forged will, the blackmail, Ethan's shady printing company contacts. It's all too neat to be spontaneous. Ethan stood, grabbing his briefcase. This conversation is over. Evelyn's voice was calm but deadly. Actually, it's just beginning. Agent Bennett might have a few things to say. Right on cue, Laura Bennett and 2 FBI agents burst into the room. Sophia Brooks and Ethan Brooks. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, elder abuse, and attempted extortion of a federal witness. Sophia's face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Ethan's briefcase was confiscated, along with their phones, revealing a treasure trove of incriminating texts and emails. As the agents cuffed them, Sophia turned to Evelyn, her eyes wide with betrayal. Mom, how could you do this to your own family? Evelyn didn't flinch. The same way you could forge documents and throw me out of my own house. Sweetheart, accept my way's legal. Ethan, desperate, tried one last play. Evelyn, you don't know what you've done. Thomas was tied to dangerous people. You're not safe. Laura paused, her voice icy. Mr. Brooks, threatening a federal witness just added another charge to your list. As Sophia and Ethan were led away, Laura turned to Evelyn. There's something else you need to know. The Mancini family won't be a threat. Thanks to Thomas's intel, we're executing warrants across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York tomorrow. Your husband's work led to 47 arrests and $200 million in seized assets. Evelyn blinked, processing the scale of Thomas's double life. So the money's really mine? Laura nodded. Every cent, earned legally through his cooperation. Sophia and Ethan didn't know they were trying to blackmail you with a secret that clears his name. 6 months later, Evelyn stood in her newly renovated kitchen, sunlight streaming through wide, modern windows she'd chosen herself. The house at 1427 Willow Lane was no longer Thomas's sanctuary, it was hers. The dark wood cabinets she'd once polished for him were gone, replaced with sleek white ones that matched her vision. The study, once Thomas's domain, was now a sunlit art studio where Evelyn painted vibrant canvases, rediscovering a passion she'd buried since her 20s to be the perfect wife and mother. Sophia and Ethan were serving 18-month federal sentences, their reputations in tatters. The media frenzy around their arrest had made Evelyn an unlikely celebrity, a beacon for seniors fighting family betrayal. She'd used $15 million of her inheritance to establish the Evelyn Harper Foundation for Elder Protection, funding legal aid for victims of financial abuse and pushing for stronger state laws. Netflix had greenlit a documentary, The Widow's Gambit, with proceeds going to elder advocacy groups. Evelyn's story wasn't just hers anymore, it was a rallying cry for those who'd been underestimated. Sophia's letters from prison piled up, each one begging for forgiveness. But Evelyn stopped reading after the third. They ranged from self-justifying rants to tearful pleas. But none carried the weight of genuine remorse. Sarah, Evelyn said to her financial advisor. Sarah Kim, Rachel's sister. During a quarterly review, has my stance on Sophia changed? Sarah shook her head. Not based on our last talk. But people can change. Evelyn. Evelyn's smile was wistful but firm. They can. But Sophia hasn't. She's sorry she got caught. Not that she hurt me. Evelyn had also drawn a line with Sophia's children. They'll know their grandmother when they're old enough to choose for themselves. She told Sarah, not through Sophia's manipulation. She'd scheduled a meeting with Sophia's lawyer. Not to reconcile, but to make one thing clear. Sophia's actions had severed their bond forever. The grandchildren deserved to know why their mother was in prison, not to shame her, but to teach them the cost of greed. As Sarah left, Evelyn walked through her home, each room a reflection of her newfound independence. In her studio, she unveiled her latest painting, a woman standing tall against a blazing sunrise. Her face radiant with strength. It was a self-portrait, but not of the Evelyn who'd packed her life into suitcases 6 months ago. This was a woman who'd faced betrayal, uncovered secrets, and turned pain into power. Outside, the Ohio sunset painted the sky in hues of fire. Evelyn's garden, planted with her own hands, bloomed with roses she'd chosen for their resilience. Tomorrow, she'd meet with the documentary team, review foundation grants, And maybe start a new painting. Sophia had tried to erase her. But Evelyn had rewritten the story. She wasn't just a widow or a mother, she was a force. A phoenix risen from the ashes of a life she'd outgrown. And if Sophia ever hoped to face this new Evelyn, she'd need more than apologies. She'd need a transformation as profound as the one Evelyn had already achieved.